Hey there, welcome back to the IHC Craft Room. This is live number 4 of my holiday how-to series, and today we're continuing the pink Christmas theme, and we're going to be pouring a couple of super cute pink and white snowflake candles in these gorgeous glossy white Terra jars and these stunning mirrored gold lids. Like, they're clear, like it's a clear mirror, so I got to be careful so that you don't, like, there's my camera. Anyway, these are beautiful, and I'm really excited to make candles in them. They're 10-ounce candles, but we're going to be topping them with snowflakes. So I'm going to actually pour a little below that so that we have enough room for the snowflake topper and then a little bit of wick before we put our lids on. So I'm super excited to do this. And if you're going to be crafting along today with me, grab your stuff. If you're watching this in the replay, same. And if you're just here to hang and chill with me, get comfy, grab yourself a coffee or a tea. We're going to make something super beautiful. I'm really excited. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside. I'll take these lids off so I can stop panicking about the mirrored business. And we're going to put those over there for now. So first, we're going to start by measuring out our wax. Today, I'm going to be using 2 different types of wax for this project. We're going to start with Freedom Soy Wax because Freedom Soy Wax is a beautiful wax for this type of project. It's definitely something that I've used in many other projects before, and it's been super useful in terms of the way it connects to the actual container, the way it clings, the gloss, and it's a very beginner-friendly type of wax as well. But I would not recommend using it for the snowflake toppers. Those are definitely not going to, they're not going to demold properly because it's not meant for that purpose. So we're going to not use Freedom for that. We're going to actually be using pillar wax for our snowflake toppers. And okay, so let's get started. We're making 2 of these 10-ounce candles. And like I said, we're going to underpour a little bit. So I'm going to actually target 400 grams of wax, and we're going to be using 45 grams of fragrance oil. And the fragrance oil we're using today is called Forest of Fir. This is a beautiful fragrance oil. I've smelled it before, but honestly, it's been a long time. So I'm excited to enjoy this fragrance. And I'm going to make note of the fact that it's quite dark. It's a very dark colored fragrance, and that will impact the color of our soy wax, but we'll get to that later. Let's focus on measuring this out because we need to give it a minute to, oh, I already made a mess. Well, there you go, Mary. Atta girl. Oh, make it worse. Great, 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 good. Okay, we'll clean that up in a minute. Nothing to worry about. I'm just gonna put my gloves on. So I always like to protect my scale, especially when I'm working with fragrance oil, but I already had it on here, so whatever. This is just a digital scale that I got at like I don't remember. I think I got a Canadian Tire. I mostly almost get my kitchen scales at Canadian Tire for some reason. Okay, so don't forget to zero out your scale so that you don't include the weight of your pour pot in your measurement. And as I said, we are targeting 400 grams. Oh boy, that was a big clump. There's a couple of big clumps in here. Okay. Too much. Okay. If I don't clean this up right now, I'm going to start freaking out. Okay. Seriously, so unnecessary. I don't want to accidentally knock over my bag because that would be so much worse. Okay. And why are you 401? I thought you were 400. Okay, very good. You scram and don't fall because Santa Maria. Okay. We're at 400 grams. I'm going to pop this into my double boiler. Now, before we go any further, you do not need to use a double boiler for this type of wax. All of the American Soy organic pellet waxes can be melted in the microwave, but definitely don't use metal. You want to be using like a nice Pyrex or some kind of like good construction that can go into a microwave and can handle high heat. These are fantastic, and you can pick them up. I always get mine at Canadian Tire, or Dollarama now has some awesome ones like this I've picked up recently too. So keep that in mind when you're measuring and melting your wax. You can totally do it in the microwave, which I generally almost always do with these pellet waxes when I'm just making candles for myself, because it's fast. Not that this is all that slow. It is pretty fast. Just the composition of them, the fact that they're in pellet form, helps them melt at a faster rate, in my opinion. So anyway, okay. We're going to measure out our fragrance oil while we're waiting, and we're going to get ourselves all prepped to continue. I'm going to make sure I zero that out. Okay, Forest of Fir. I didn't think to look up the fragrance notes, so check the comments that I'm going to pin below on the replay, and I will definitely put the fragrance notes in there because I'm a big fan of knowing the notes. So minus 10 points to Mary from the past for not getting that ready ahead of time. Okay, fragrance oil. We want 45 grams of fragrance oil. I need to have a Kleenex ready. Or a paper towel. Splash. Yeah, buddy. Okay, 45 grams. Oh, okay. Chill out. Calm down. I'm making a fuss. I feel like I say this in every video when I use a double boiler. Oh, man, this smells so good. Okay, wait. I'll come back to the smell in a second. This is actually really important. I've had this happen to me only once before, and never do I want it to happen again. I was using this double boiler method, and I was working on something over here, and I was really focused on what I was doing, and I didn't realize that it was bubbling so vigorously that it made the whole saucepan jump, and it fell off of the burner and splashed oil. Not oil. This is wax. It splashed wax everywhere and hot water as well, which is no fun. So keep an eye on it if you were using it. Okay. So I've already measured my fragrance oil. I'm not getting any more of that, but I am going to measure out one more thing before I get rid of my scale. So why don't you put this away? Okay, wait, let's talk about the fragrance for a second. This smells like a forest of fir trees. It is very aptly named fragrance. It really is. Village Craft and Candle. Good job. It is a very aptly named fragrance. It really does smell like a forest of fir trees, like walking into a beautiful forest. Okay, so we're going to be using this glass measuring cup today for the next type of wax that we'll be using, which is Freedom Pillar Wax. Hopefully this won't make a mess when I open it. And we're going to be using the pillar wax for our topper, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to measure out a little bit, and we're going to actually melt this in the microwave. You know what? I'm going to have to stop closing my bags like this because it's going to frustrate me. Of course. Okay, great. Let's not talk about it. All right. I'm going to zero this out. And I think I'm probably only going to make like 2 to 4 snowflakes. So I'm going to measure out 100 grams, which is not a lot. Okay. I'm not adding fragrance oil because it's not necessary. It's not a lot of additional wax that it's going to impact the scent of the candle, and it will minimize the irritation of having to do that. Okay. Oh, this is 106. It doesn't matter. There's no need for it to be super specific. We just want enough to melt and put into our silicone molds. Okay, this is still melting. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of here. We don't need this anymore for now, I don't think. I'm going to clean up some more because God forbid I don't. It'll irk me until the cows come home. And my cows get here early, guys. They are early returners. Okay. So before we start melting this wax, I'm going to prepare my vessels so that when that guy's ready, we'll be ready to party. I've already washed these vessels. I recommend you always wash your vessels before making a candle, just to see if you can avoid some dirt or debris. It's highly likely that there would be some because I'm sure these are always in warehouses somewhere before they get to your place. You could also, they're made of glass, so you could easily just Windex them if you don't want to soap and water them. I already actually did wash them, but it's been a few days, so I wouldn't mind giving them a quick wipe out. I'm going to take off my gloves to do the wicks because it's easier to not stick to the wick stickum if you're not wearing gloves. So for these vessels today, I'm going to be using a Stabilo 12 wick. I kind of feel like it's an underwick. I feel like I should be using more like a Stabilo 16 rather than a 12. But as I mentioned in another video, I've been trying to underwick my candles a little bit more lately because I've come to the realization that as I get more experience candle making, that I really have been over wicking my candles to date. And that means that I'm getting a really aggressive flame. I'm getting like some soot around the edges of my candles at times. You get really noticeable amounts of mushrooming on the wick as well. These are all indicators that it's burning too hot. So I'm over wicking my vessel, or the combination. My combination hasn't been correct. So what I'm going to try today, and what I've been trying in the past and like to continue in the coming weeks and experiments, is I'm going to try to underwick a little bit. So today we're going to be using a Stabilo 12, which is supposed to be about an 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter for the melt pool, which is going to be small for this because this is a 3-inch diameter. So we'll see how this goes. And I picked up the vast majority of my candle making supplies at Village Craft and Candle. I am an affiliate for them, and you can get 5% off of your first purchase with them if you use code IHC5 at checkout. But if Village is not your cup of tea, feel free to check other places. There are a lot of great mom and pop shop candle making companies out there. I got my wood dough bowls from Rama Candles in, I think they're in Woodbridge. And you can get a lot of stuff from Michael's Canada. You can probably get it from Joann's as well in the US. And Amazon is always a favorite of mine. I'm a big fan. I always pick up a lot of things from Amazon. I get a lot of my molds, like this one, from Amazon as well. Okay, so I'm going to be using these wick stickums to stick my wicks to the base of the jar. And it's basically just a double-sided little sticker, which I, again, got at Village Craft and Candle. I think you can get them in other places, too. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon. And also, if you don't want to use this, you could use a little dot of hot glue. That's another way to go. Or another option is to wait until your wax is fully melted, and then you can pour a tiny bit of wax at the bottom. Let it start to harden a little bit and drop your wick in so that it kind of like holds on to it. I feel like that's the one that would make me the most uncomfortable, because I'd be scared that they would eventually let go. Okay, I'm going to eyeball this. What happens if you don't get your wick in the right spot? Unfortunate things. That's what happens. Very unfortunate things, because you definitely want your wick to be in the center of your candle to give it the best opportunity to burn cleanly and equally all the way around the surface. In a perfect world, you'd like to have a melt pool that goes all the way across your surface. So you're going to want a wick in the center to give it that opportunity to melt accordingly. Now, I have these wick centering tools that we're going to pop on later. But for right now, I want to push these down and you use this stick just to make sure that they stick really well to the bottom. I really don't like the idea of a floating wick. It's never happened to me. I hope it never does. So we prevent. So these guys are ready for us to pour. My intention is to pour to about over here. So I'm going to leave a solid inch from the top because these are quite thick. Now keep in mind, they're only going to be as thick as you pour them. So if you don't want to have thick snowflakes, you don't need to have them this thick. You could totally just pour a thin layer and you'll be fine. But I do want them thick. I like the look of it. I like the elevation that it has against the backdrop of the main pour of the candle. So my plan is to do one candle. The main pour will be like color free, like no added color. So it'll be white. And the other one will be a light pink, light-ish pink. It's kind of hard to get a light pink when you're making a small quantity of candles like this because you got to put a tiny, tiny bit of liquid dye. This is Magenta Liquid Candle Dye that I got from Village Craft and Candle. It is incredibly concentrated. So we're going to actually use a toothpick to help us add that color in to the melted wax because it's going to be too pink, like too vibrant. And that's not what I'm shooting for. I was kind of hoping to get like almost like a baby pink kind of ice pink, you know, like when I think of like Winter Wonderland kind of pink, it's like that icy. All right, we are fully melted. So I'm going to move these aside for now. Actually, I'm going to move you out of the way because I don't need you yet. Let's see. 179. Okay, that's good. So we're going to take this off of the heat. Actually, let me turn this off first. I'm going to take this off the heat. And then because I am paranoid, I'm going to get this out of here. Okay, beautiful. Safety first. And I'm going to scoot you on out of here as well. Scoot, scoot, scoot. Beautiful. All right. So we are going to go ahead and add in this fragrance oil. Oh, I need gloves. Gloves immediately. Gloves immédiatement. You don't want to get fragrance oil or liquid dye directly on your skin. They're both very concentrated. And there's definitely some health concerns with getting fragrance oil on your body, I would think. But I don't know because I've never done it. Oh, don't pour out of the bottle, Mary. You already measured. Okay, I'm going to pour this in. And I just want to get myself prepared with a couple of paper towels because here is an IHC quick tip. Always be prepared to clean as you go. It will make your life so much better in the end. And that is a philosophy you can take outside of candle making as well. But you know, do you? But while you're making your candles, if you clean up as you go, it'll make it a lot easier post cleanup when you're done, particularly when you're working with melted wax versus solidified wax and you got to bust out a heat gun and it's a pain. So IHC quick tip, clean as you go. You're welcome. So that's what I mean by this. Now, is this clean? No, I'm going to still wash it later with soap and water, but now it's not full of fragrance oil anymore. Okay, it is currently 10:19 a.m. and today is November 8th, 2025. Just because I said the time, I might as well say the date. And we are going to stir this for 2 minutes. 2 full minutes, possibly 3 minutes. And we do this because you definitely want your fragrance oil to blend and grip onto the wax well. And by stirring them for this long, they should hopefully combine very well. And that's going to impact the scent throw of your candle. It's going to impact if you get a consistent scent throw from first light to last light, because you'll have a consistent amount of fragrance oil throughout the entirety of your wax and your candle. So it's in your best interest to do that. Try not to stir too quickly. You don't want to introduce unnecessary air into your wax and fragrance mixture. And have a little bit of patience. This is one of the things I love about candle making and crafting in general is the combination of being precise and doing the right things and figuring out all the steps and all of that, and planning the creativity behind the candle. So like planning that you want the candle to be one white and one pink, and I'm going to top them with a snowflake each of opposing colors. So the pink candle is going to get a white snowflake, and the white candle is going to get a pink snowflake, and it's going to be cute AF. I'm super excited. So that creativity part of candle making is a lot of fun to me. But also this part, this keeping it chill, keeping it zen, being patient while you're stirring, making sure that you do all the right steps. I enjoy this part of crafting and candle making as well. I'm always trying to keep the blood pressure down. Keep it chill. Life's hard, you know? If you have the time to cultivate a little bit of a hobby, do it. It's good for you. Life is long and short all at the same time. All right. So we want one of these candles white. So that means I got to do this before I add my color in. 154 is a great temperature to pour at. So I'm going to go ahead and pour ye. So doing this is going to make it even more challenging to get a light pink. I'm going to go just a little higher than that. I think that's good. I've left about an inch, which is a bit short, actually. I should have made it a little bit lower. I put that extra bit that I put in, I probably shouldn't have. Oh, well, c'est la vie. What are you going to do? Life's hard. I would like a piece of parchment paper. Because liquid dye is no joke. And instead of just putting it in with the dropper, I'm going to be using my friend Le Toothpick to get just a little bit of this liquid dye on the toothpick. Okay, just a little, un petit peu. And we're going to go ahead and stir that around. All right. Let's see. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think that's going to be way too light of a pink. Okay, so I'm going to actually put a little more. And that's the first time that's happened. The ones I've made in the past, I always find that I go a little too much with liquid dye. And then I regret. Okay. Okay, then I think that's better. Because again, I'm going for like, if possible, like a blush pink or like a really faint pink. So this is probably going to end my pink Christmas theme for a bit. And we're going to move on to more traditional color schemes for the upcoming lives I'll be doing over the next week or so. Okay. You definitely want to make sure that you're stirring your liquid dye as much as you're stirring your fragrance oil for the same reason. You just want it to all be even across all colors. You don't want streaks. You don't want it to look different from one part to the next. Get everything nicely mixed. Okay, I'm going to actually pour this now. I'm going to scoot these out of the way for a minute. I should have done that before I poured it. Now you're going to have to move as slow as possible. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this guy. Okay, I have a tiny bit of wax left in here, but I'm not going to pour it because it'll go too high and I need to have enough room for my candle topper. So I'm actually going to go dump this into a container I have for this exact purpose for when I over melt. I could have just left it in the container and let it solidify, and then I could melt it later with my melter or my heat gun, but I try to always clean as I go. I make my life easier for later. For Mary from the future, she constantly thanks me. I'm going to still wash this with some soapy water later, just like I'm going to wash my 5-ounce measuring cup. But for now, we are done-ski with this. So I'm going to go ahead and put my wick centering tools on here because we want these to be as straight as possible, as I said earlier, so that when you do have your solidified candle, it's right down the center. You can get a melt pool that will hopefully make it to your vessel walls because your wick is centered well. And it's there's a lot of tools you can use for that, actually, things that you can buy online that are, or you can make yourself, that is that would allow you the easy mark of where to put your wick. But I always like to be a little cowboy about things, you know. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, what are you gonna do? We move on. Okay, so the next step is we're gonna go ahead and make our snowflakes as well. So I'm going to go pop this into my microwave for a minute or so. And we're going to let that melt. Now, again, that's pillar wax that we're using for this. And there's a reason why. Pillar wax is specially made specifically to use for pillars, like freestanding candles that you would make in molds that would, oh my God, I always think of like churches and cathedrals and horror movies when I think of pillar candles. Those ones that burn with the wax that just pours off the side, like beautiful. Or like candlesticks and stuff. I would assume you could also use pillar wax for that. But what I use pillar wax for is silicone molds, especially things that have these little intricate spots where you don't want it to pop off and break. And the last time I used this mold in a video I made last year, which if you're watching this as a replay, Mary from the future is going to put that video up in the corner right over here, where I made these in candle tins last year using like a blue color. And I made these as toppers, and I did not use pillar wax. I didn't know that it would work so well. I used the same wax as what I used for my candle, and I broke some of the tops off of my snowflakes. It was a major bummer. I was not a fan. Do not recommend. So I learned from that experience and several others, and we're going to be using pillar wax for this purpose because it'll do much, much better. Okay, it's time for a stir. Beautiful. So the manufacturer recommends that you melt in 30-second bursts, but I don't have the patience for that. So I tend to melt my wax for about 1.5 minutes for the first round. I give it a stir, then I'll melt it for about another minute, stir it again. And usually by then we're nearing the point where it's almost time to be in that last 30 seconds of just that final stir, making sure that you're achieving the right temperature. And you may have noticed that I suddenly have a new glove on. This is my heat-resistant glove from Michaels. Thank you again, Peggy, who gave me this recommendation. In one of the comments in one of my videos before, she recommended I get a heat-resistant glove. And let me tell you, girl, big props to you, because it was a huge improvement in my life getting these. And again, 40% off at Michaels. This was a steal. I think I got them for $6 or something. And they've been a major value add. Let's go see how this is doing. Okay, we are definitely melted. Let me just see the temperature here. Oh boy, we are very over the temperature we need to be, so we're fine. So Pillar Soy Wax, you do want to melt to a higher temperature. You want to melt that to 190 degrees if I'm not mistaken. And I think Freedom is 160 or 70. 160 for Freedom. But for Pillar, 190. Again, because it's a stronger consistency. And therefore, okay, let me put my glove back on. It's going to need a higher temperature to melt because it's such a, has a stronger integrity. Okay, so I'm going to pour one no color, so white. I think I have enough for 2 of these white ones. Okay. And now we're going to add solo un poquito de magenta. Like the tiniest amount I could possibly get is what I want because there's very little wax in here. And I don't want these to be crazy pink. I really feel like that's going to be too much. Let's see. Well, actually, this might be the perfect amount. Yippee! Woohoo! It is good news. So again, I don't put fragrance oil in my toppers for the most part because I really don't think it's necessary. It doesn't dilute the scent enough for it to be an issue. But feel free, if you disagree, to add a little bit of fragrance oil to your toppers as well. You could totally do that. All right. I always have to remind myself to be patient and stir. Be patient and stir. It's fine. We'll get there in the end. A little bit of patience goes a long way because it really does make a difference to the blend. So you don't get streaks, you don't get patches where something's really, really concentrated and something's really washed out in another spot. Okay. I want to close this quickly because boy, if I spill this, am I going to hate my life? Okay. Put my glove back on because I'm using my noggin today. Oh, I've got some liquid dye on me, eh? Okay. Alrighty. We're going to pour these guys. Now, obviously, there is no way for me to speed up time to make these solidify so we can complete these candles. But don't worry, I made some in advance that we are going to complete together. But I did want to, oh, I have a little bit of wax left. Let's make another. This is about halfway full, which is not bad. 100 grams made me just like 4.5. That's really good. Okay. I'm just going to clean this a little more. High five to Mary from the future. You are welcome, girlfriend. Okay, I'll put this aside. I don't need it anymore. And we are going to grab, I'm going to scoot these out of the way so that they don't end up casualties in this process. That's actually why I have them on the parchment paper so that I can move them out of the way easily. Okay, so I have these guys that I completed. Beautiful, eh? Man, these vessels are so sleek. So this pink came out a little pinker than I would have liked, to be honest. And no surprise, because I really suck at getting the right color. And I have a plate of toppers. Now, I did make one a little bit of a darker pink. And these ones are more of that lighter. Right? Man, I love pink. I really don't care one way or the other. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to put a hole through the snowflake right at the center and then thread that onto, but not, the pink is going to go on top of white, and we're going to do white on top of pink because so cute. But there's two things we're going to do first. First, we are going to drill a hole into the center. And then secondly, we are going to brush them with a little bit of mica powder to make them look very glittery and pretty, because I'm super excited about it. So this is like an iridescent white, but I also have like a gold, because let's not forget about these like super sexy, beautiful mirrored lids. They're so pretty. So I was kind of thinking, you know, gold, but on the other hand, I really like just the pearl. I'm probably going to just do that, but we'll see. I'm giving myself the option of both. So let's talk a little bit about how we're going to put a hole in the snowflake. I tried a few different ways to do this in the past. And I would say the one that I was the most successful with is a combination of a heat gun and a metal skewer rod. So you heat your rod with the heat gun and then slowly put a little dot. Heat it again, a little dot. Heat it again, a little dot. It's incredibly tedious, but it is quite effective if you take your time and you don't try to force the rod into the center point. You can definitely do that. And that is exactly how I did it in the video I did last year, where I used this mold before, which again is going to be up in this corner over here. But anyway, since then, I decided to look into it, and it turns out you can use little hand drills like this. How cute is this? I got this at Michael's, surprise. But you can also get them on Amazon. They're definitely available there. And this one came with a number of different sizes of bits that you put into this top piece here. Unscrew the top, and then it opens up, and you slide your piece in there and then tighten the... Ooh. I had to mess with it, right? That's generally how I do things. I like to make my life as complicated as possible. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten it. And basically, this is actually marketed as a resin drill, so that if you use resin, you know, keychains or earrings or something, this is an easy way to drill through it with your hand drill. But we're going to use it for this, and I suspect it's going to be super effective. However, because it's going to be a drilling motion, it's going to be really easy to miss the center. So I think I'm going to try to like smush it first in the right spot. Okay. I have scored the center. And now we're going to try to draw. Okay, I've never done this before, so let's hope that this is going to be as easy as I think it is. Oh my gosh, is it ever? Oh my God, this is so fast. I'm already halfway through for sure. That was so fast. Oh my God, what a game changer. Well, this would be so much easier when you're doing multiple snowflake. Oh my gosh, I cannot. Get out of here. Was it really that fast? Let me go all the way through real quick. Yeah? Wow. Okay. So is this going to work now? Oh, come here. Is that big enough? Perfect. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Oh my God, how cute is that? Oh my God, it came out perfect. This is gonna look so good. Okay, calm down. Controlate. I'll put this over here. Let's do a white one as well. Oh my God, this was under 10 bucks. Maybe full price, it's over 10 bucks, but what's Mary's rule when it comes to shopping at Michael's? We wait for coupons. 40% off if possible. Okay, so I think that was the right move, is putting the mark in your, make sure you're right at your center point. Yeah. All right, we got it. Okay, let's do this again. I cannot get over how fast this is. And it's so easy. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I love when I try something for the first time and it's successful. It's so fun. Yeah, I would definitely never do the metal skewer again now that I have this. But if you don't have a tool like this, that is a definite way of doing it. By the way, I am not on the center here. That's going to irk me. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. I have them. Why be annoyed when I can? Maybe I should use my toothpick to get the center. Okay, that's the center. Okay, I think I got it. If I don't have it, it doesn't matter. One of these I'm going to use because, like, come on. I'm not doing 3. Yeah, I'm already all the way through. I cannot get over how fast this is. Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely not in the center. I can see it right from there. I'm not in the center. That's all right. This one's closer, I think. Yeah, much. Much. All right. This is going to be fun. Okay, so we are going to use a heat gun. But before we go to that step, I'm going to actually brush these with a little bit of mica powder, like I said, because I think it's going to look cute. Just get some of this. This wax crumble that came off of it. Okay, so I'm going to go with, I don't think I need my gloves anymore. They're mostly just annoying me at this point. Okay. I think I'm going to do this iridescent white on both of them. I got this mica powder on Amazon. You need to make sure that when you get mica powder that you're going to use for candle making, that it's made for bath and body and not for resin. It is different. Nothing stayed on my brush. You want the Bath and Body one because it's safer. I don't think that's actually working. Okay, and that's a bit too much. That's a bit too much. Oh my gosh, look how pretty that looks. Get out of here. You see that? Woo! Oh my God. I've never done this before either. I've never actually painted mica powder onto a topper or a melt or anything like that before. Now, candle purists are against things like mica powder because they will monkey around with the performance of your wick. So always keep that in mind when you're using things like mica powder, because it can clog your wick, particularly if you have a lot of it or it's not dissolved well or whatevs. But doesn't that look pretty? Oh, I'm very pleased with that. I think I want a little bit more up there. Oh yeah, girl. Girl, shoot, don't you look cute? Aren't you the cutest little pink snowflake? Okay. Oh man, am I in love with that? So pretty. Okay. You're next. I'm definitely using too much now. I really don't think this would be enough for it to impact your wick anyway. This isn't much. It's more about when you mix it throughout your actual candle in the main pour. You want to make sure that you're letting it dissolve really well. So far, I've only used mica powder in a pour once. I did it on some melts and it was epic. #fail. Big fail. Big fail. I did not do it well. I didn't pour at the right temperature. So when you brush mica powder on top like this, you're going to definitely see results. But when you're trying to mix it into melted wax, it's heavy and it will fall to the bottom if you don't pour your wax at a temperature where it's going to solidify and suspend it. And I didn't know that at the time. I poured it when the wax was too warm and the mica was too heavy, and it then dropped to the bottom of my container. So the top, because I was making melts, the top was really light in color and the bottom was really saturated. That's actually when I made some melts recently, and Mary from the future will tag that video up here in the corner so you can watch it if you'd like to see how I tested the new releases Fragrance Explore Kit from Village Craft and Candle. But can we talk about how pretty this looks? Girl, you are shining. Girl, girl, girl. Okay, love it. Let's get you out of here. Scram. Actually, I don't need any of you. Toodaloo to all of you. Okay. Move this. Okay. I'm just going to skedaddle that out of here. And we're going to keep you guys and get you out of here too. I'm just going to tidy up a bit so that we can focus on putting these on top. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use my heat gun to melt the tops of each of these candles. We're going to drop the snowflake on top, threading the wick through the holes we just put in them. And then we're going to light them and see how they perform. I'm not going to burn them forever and just have you sitting here staring at candles burning, which would probably be really fun now that I'm thinking about it. But we'll definitely see how it starts off at least and how pretty they look. Okay, so let's start with Guy. You don't need like a full melt pool. It really only needs to look glittery and glossy. That would be enough. Get out of here. How cute does that look? Get out of here. Ew, girl. Oh, man. I heart you. So pretty. All right. Let's see how this goes. The tops of these candles, this candle in particular, is a little rough. So I'm going to melt it a little bit more than that one, just to kind of level out. Also, this wick is not quite dead center either. It's okay. Oh my gosh. Get out. Get out of here. How cute is that? Ooh. They're both so pretty, but honestly, I think I like this one best. I like the pink snowflake best. What do you guys think? Tell me in the chat or in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Now we're going to use a wick trimmer. If I can find where I put it here, I did. And we are going to light these guys up. First, I'm going to trim them. So you want to leave like a 1/4 inch of wick, so that is a good rule of thumb for any. Well, I got to be careful that I don't accidentally. I didn't want them to fall into my wet wax over here. Anytime you're trimming a candle down, you want to be at about a 1/4 inch wick. So like that. Oh man, we better have a moment, because as soon as I light them, these snowflakes are going to be a thing of the past. So pretty. Okay. I'm going to scoot these out of here a little bit so we can focus on the slowest scoot ever, so I don't accidentally shove wax on the sides of my vessel. Okay. Beautiful. Here we go. Okay. I'm interested to see how these wicks perform in this size vessel. As I mentioned at the beginning of this project, or rather this candle making experiment, because I consider all of my candle making videos experiments. I'm still learning the tricks and the trades and adjusting accordingly. And this is one of those adjustments that I'm trying today, where I'm using a wick that is traditionally a little too small for this vessel and probably won't make it all the way to the vessel walls. And I'm doing that because in the past, I've always wicked up. I've always tried to get a wick that I know will definitely make it to the vessel wall. And I feel like, oh, I got liquid dye on my finger. That's a bummer. I went through my glove. Okay, focus. I've always felt like getting a wick that makes your melt pool reach the vessel wall is the way to go. But I've noticed that it seems like my wick is overperforming. Like, you end up with these really like visible mushrooming at the top of the wick. I'll often get soot around the edges of my vessel. That means that my wick is burning too hot and too fast and too aggressively. So we are now on a underwick mission to see how that goes, and if the candles perform better according to that. Man, this looks so cute with the iridescent, like the mica top coat with the iridescent. Oh man, so cute. I want to take a picture. So what do you guys think? Oh, this fragrance is really nice. So before we part ways for this week, let's have a little chat about curing your soy wax candles. On average, you want to cure them for about 10 days before you light them. Does that mean you can't light your candles right away once they're solid? No, you totally could. You just won't get the same level of scent throw as you would if you let them cure for that 10 days. Or at least, you know, if you're feeling impatient, 4 or 5 days. Let the wax and the fragrance oil have enough time to bind and really blend with each other. And that will help you achieve a better scent throw long-term with your candle. But if you light it right away, you'll notice 5 to 10 days later, it will smell better because it got a chance to cure. So keep that in mind. But I hope you enjoyed making these candles with me today. I really enjoyed making them with you. I go live every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. From now until the end of 2025, we're going to be making holiday-themed candles every Saturday morning, maybe some melts as well. I really enjoy making wax melts. And I would love for you to join me. I also have a bunch of videos on my channel. If you're a beginner candle maker and you want to learn a little bit more about candle making, check out one of these videos. I'm sure you'll learn along with me because I'm definitely learning every day and having a great time. So don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!